Imagine a world shaped by powerful divine forces, goddesses who ruled the sky, the earth, the seas, and even the underworld. From the mother of all creation to the bringer of discord, Greek mythology is filled with fascinating deities who shaped the fate of gods and mortals alike. Today, we will uncover the stories of these legendary goddesses, their powers, and their lasting influence. Get ready to journey into the heart of Greek mythology. Gaia, mother of all creation. In the beginning, there was only chaos, a vast, formless void of infinite potential. But from this primordial darkness emerged the first conscious being. Picture, if you will, not merely the ground beneath your feet, but a living, breathing entity, one whose body became the mountains, whose tears formed the oceans, and whose sighs stirred the first winds into being. This is the story of the original mother, whose legacy flows through every blade of grass, every grain of sand, and every drop of rain that nourishes our world. From the moment of her self-creation, Gaia was unlike any deity who would follow. She didn't merely inhabit the earth, she was the earth, a distinction that set her apart in the vast pantheon of Greek deities. Every forest was her garden, every cave her sanctuary, every mountain peak her crown. The ancient Greeks understood this profound truth, that the very ground we walk upon holds consciousness, memory, and purpose. In those earliest days, Gaia's solitude was complete, but brief. From the depths of her being, she brought forth Uranus, the starry sky, to be her equal and opposite. Their union would become the first great romance of creation, as heaven and earth embraced in an eternal dance. From their love came the first generation of divine children, the 12 Titans, beings of tremendous power and beauty. Cronus and Rhea, Oceanus and Tethys, Hyperion and Thea, each pair would go on to shape fundamental aspects of our world. But Gaia's creative force didn't stop there. She bore the 3 one-eyed Cyclopes, master craftsmen of lightning and thunder, and the 100-handed hecatonchires, beings of such tremendous strength that their movements could shake the foundations of the world. Each of her children represented different aspects of her own vast power. The Titans, her ability to create order from chaos, the Cyclopes, her divine inspiration, and the hecatonchires, her raw, untamed force. Yet with great power came great tragedy. Uranus, fearful of their strongest offspring's power, forced the Cyclopes and hecatonchires back into Gaia's womb, into the depths of the earth. His cruelty awakened something new in Gaia, rage. For the first time, the nurturing mother became the vengeful earth, shaking with earthquakes born of her pain. This was the moment when Gaia revealed another aspect of her nature, that of the protective mother, who would stop at nothing to defend her children. In her anguish, Gaia crafted a great adamantine sickle, its edge sharp enough to cut through the very fabric of divinity. She gathered her Titan children and asked which of them would strike against their father to end his tyranny. Only Cronus, the youngest, stepped forward. Thus began the first great divine conflict, as Gaia armed her son to overthrow his father, setting in motion a cycle of divine succession that would echo through the ages. But Gaia's power wasn't limited to creation and destruction. As Mother Earth, she held dominion over prophecy itself. The oracle at Delphi was first hers before passing to Apollo, and from the depths of her being came visions of what was, what is, and what would be. This gift of prophecy would prove crucial throughout the ages, as gods and mortals alike sought her wisdom in times of great need. When the Olympians later faced their own challenges, it was Gaia's prophetic guidance that helped Zeus overcome the monstrous Typhon. Yet she also bore the giants to challenge the Olympians when their rule became too harsh, maintaining the delicate balance between order and chaos, creation and destruction. The legacy of Gaia extends far beyond mythology. She represents the eternal truth that all life is interconnected, that the fate of the smallest flower is tied to the greatest mountain. All are part of nature's grand design. As you step outside after hearing this tale, pause for a moment. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Listen to the wind in the trees. Remember that you're standing on holy ground, the living body of the first mother, she who gave birth to gods and giants, mountains and seas. For in Gaia's myth lies perhaps the most important question of all. If the earth itself is divine, how then should we treat our planetary home? Nyx, primordial goddess of night from the swirling mists of chaos, Nyx manifested as one of the first beings in existence. Unlike the Olympians who would come later, she was a primordial deity, a force of nature itself, rather than a mere ruler over it. Through her union with Erebus, the god of darkness, she bore children who would shape the very fabric of existence. Hemera, day; ether, light; the Moirai, fates; Hypnos, sleep; Thanatos, death; and countless others who would become fundamental aspects of life and consciousness. In the cosmic order, Nyx's role was absolute and unavoidable. Each evening, she would draw her dark veil across the sky, bringing rest to mortals and gods alike. Her arrival was both a blessing and a source of primordial fear, for in her darkness lay both peace and peril, dreams and nightmares, rest and restlessness. Her palace stood at the edge of the cosmos, where day and night would meet in eternal transition, a place where light dared not linger and shadows took solid form. Nyx's powers extended far beyond the mere creation of darkness. She was the mother of both sleep and death, dreams and destiny, strife and deception. Her darkness was not simply the absence of light, but a living force that could conceal, protect, or terrify. Within her realm, secrets flourished, prophecies were born, and the threads of fate themselves were woven. Her chariot, drawn by midnight black steeds, would traverse the sky each evening, bringing forth the stars and moon in her wake. As she passed overhead, mortals would draw their children close and whisper prayers for safe passage through her hours. For while Nyx could offer the sweet solace of sleep through her son Hypnos, she could just as easily deliver terror through her children, Oases, misery, and the Charities, violent death. Perhaps the most telling story of Nyx's power comes from her interaction with Zeus himself, when Zeus pursued Nyx's son Hypnos in rage for having put him to sleep against his will. Hypnos fled to his mother's protection. Nyx's mere presence was enough to stay Zeus's hand. The king of gods turned away. Rather than risk offending the primordial goddess of night, this tale speaks volumes about her position in the cosmic hierarchy. While younger gods might quarrel and scheme, Nyx remained above such petty conflicts, untouchable in her ancient power. Another significant myth involves her daughter Hemera, day. Each morning, as Nyx returns to her palace at the edge of Tartarus, Hemera departs it, creating an eternal dance of light and shadow. Mother and daughter pass each other at the edge of the earth, their brief meeting marking the moments of dawn and dusk. This eternal cycle represents the fundamental rhythm of existence itself, the constant alternation between light and dark, activity and rest, life and death. Nyx reminds us that power need not be loud or violent to be absolute. Like the darkness she commands, her strength lies in silence, in mystery, and in the inevitable nature of her domain. She represents those aspects of existence that cannot be conquered or controlled, only respected and embraced. Consider this. Does our modern attempt to banish darkness with eternal light truly serve us, or have we lost something profound in our rejection of night's mysteries? For as Nyx teaches us, true wisdom often comes not from illumination, but from embracing the darkness and the truths it holds. Ancient Greek proverb: in darkness we find our deepest truths, and in night's embrace we dream our greatest dreams. Hemera, Goddess of the day-born from the union of Erebus, darkness, and Nyx, night, Hemera emerged as one of the firstborn deities, a primordial force that would help shape the very fabric of our world, while her siblings would come to represent concepts like death, sleep, and fate. Hemera's domain was the life-giving day, the time of consciousness and activity that gave meaning to existence itself. In the cosmic order of Greek mythology, Hemera stands as one of the most ancient deities, emerging in the earliest moments of creation. According to Hesiod's Theogony, she came into being alongside the first fundamental forces of the universe. Unlike the later Olympian gods with their grand temples and elaborate cults, Hemera represented something more primal, the very concept of daytime itself. She was not born on Mount Olympus or in the depths of Tartarus, but rather manifested from the primordial chaos as a necessary force to bring balance to the cosmos. Hemera's power lay not in thunderbolts or magic, but in the fundamental nature of light and consciousness. Each morning, she would rise from the depths of Tartarus, pushing back the dark mists of her mother Nyx, bringing warmth and illumination to the world. Her presence meant more than just light. It represented awareness, activity, and the very possibility of life itself. Unlike many Greek deities, Hemera did not meddle in human affairs or seek worship through grand temples. Her power was evident in every sunrise. Some ancient sources describe her as wearing robes of pure golden light, her hair streaming behind her like rays of sunshine breaking through clouds. The goddess possessed the unique ability to dispel darkness, not just physically, but spiritually as well. In her presence, shadows of doubt and fear would retreat, replaced by clarity and understanding. One of the most significant myths involving Hemera tells of her eternal dance with her mother, Nyx. Each day, as Hemera rises from their shared home, in Tartarus, Nyx descends below the earth. When Hemera's journey across the sky is complete, she returns to the underworld as Nyx emerges to spread her dark wings across the world. This endless cycle, this cosmic ballet between mother and daughter, established the very rhythm of existence that all life would come to depend upon. As sure as Hemera rises, the ancient Greeks would say, speaking of certainties, and indeed what could be more certain than the coming of day? Yet in this most predictable of phenomena lies one of the universe's greatest mysteries and most beautiful dances, the eternal cycle of light and dark, of activity and rest, of revelation and mystery. Thalassa, primordial goddess of the sea, her form, as fluid as the waters she embodied. The ancient Greeks spoke of her emergence alongside Pontus, the personification of the sea's depths. But Thalassa was something more elemental. She was the very surface of the sea itself, the boundary between the known and unknown worlds. Unlike the later Olympian gods, with their human forms and mortal passions, Thalassa existed as something far more fundamental. The Greeks imagined her as a woman formed of pure water, her hair the waves themselves, her breath the tides that shaped coastlines. She predated the concept of divine hierarchy, existing in a time when the universe was still raw potential, unbound by the laws that would later govern it. Thalassa's powers were as vast as the seas themselves. She controlled not just the waters, but the very rhythm of the marine world. Every wave that has ever crashed upon a shore, every current that has ever carried life through the deep, all were expressions of her will. But unlike the tempestuous Poseidon, who would later claim dominion over the seas, Thalassa's power was more subtle, more primal. She was both creator and destroyer, her waters giving life to the first organisms while also holding the power to devastate entire coastlines. Sailors would speak of her in whispers, knowing that their lives depended on her mercy. In ancient artwork, she was often depicted as a woman emerging from the waves, sometimes with crab-claw horns adorning her head, symbolizing her connection to all marine life. Her body was said to be composed of pure seawater, and where she passed, schools of fish would follow, drawn to her nurturing presence. Among the most significant tales of Thalassa is the story of the Great Division. When Uranus, the sky, and Gaia, the earth, were separated, it was Thalassa who filled the void between them, creating the world as we know it. Her waters became the boundary between the realm of gods above and the mortal world below. This act of creation established her as one of the fundamental forces that shaped our universe. As we face modern challenges of rising seas and changing climates, perhaps it's time to revisit the wisdom embedded in Thalassa's myths. For in her stories, we find not just tales of divine power, but lessons about the delicate balance between humanity and the natural world. Remember, the ancient mariners would say, that when you look upon the sea, you gaze upon the face of Thalassa herself, eternal, unchanging, and ever worthy of our reverence. Thea, born to Gaia, Earth, and Uranus, sky, Thea emerged in an era when the universe was young and raw with potential. Like her fellow Titans, she possessed a primordial power that modern minds can scarcely fathom, the power to shape the very nature of light itself. In those early days before the cosmic order we know today, Thea's radiance helped illuminate the paths between chaos and creation. The ancient Greeks whispered that Thea's domain extended far beyond mere physical light. She was the goddess who gave gold and silver their luster, who taught precious gems to capture and reflect light in their crystalline hearts. In her presence, the world itself seemed to shimmer with divine potential, as if every surface had been kissed by celestial fire. Thea's marriage to her brother Hyperion, the Titan of heavenly light, created a union of extraordinary power. Together, they embodied the full spectrum of celestial illumination, Hyperion's piercing brightness complemented by Thea's subtle, ethereal glow. Their love story was written in the stars themselves, a tale of two beings whose very nature was to bring light to the darkness, but it was through her children that Thea's greatest legacy would be forged. To understand the magnitude of her influence, we must look to the three divine offspring who would become the eternal custodians of light in our world. First came Helios, the mighty sun god, whose golden chariot would later trace the arc of day across the sky. In him, Thea invested the power of pure, unfiltered radiance, the kind that brings both life and scorching heat to the world below. Next came Selene, the moon goddess, who inherited her mother's more subtle luminescence. Through Selene, Thea gave the world the gift of gentle nightlight, the silver glow that guides travelers and lovers alike through the darkness. In Selene's face, we see echoes of Thea's own celestial beauty, reflected in the moon's ever-changing phases. Finally, there was Eos, goddess of the dawn, who received perhaps the most delicate aspect of her mother's power, the ability to paint the sky in subtle hues of pink and gold, heralding each new day. Through Eos, Thea ensured that the transition from night to day would forever be a thing of beauty, a daily reminder of the divine artistry that shapes our world. During the great Titanomachy, when the Olympian gods rose up against their Titan forebears, Thea's role remains somewhat mysterious in ancient texts. Some accounts suggest she, like many of her kin, sided with the Titans out of loyalty to the old order. Others hint that she may have remained neutral, understanding that the cosmos itself required a new generation of gods to shepherd it forward. What we do know is that unlike some of her fellow Titans, she was not condemned to eternal punishment in Tartarus after the Olympians' victory. Instead, Thea's influence lived on through her children, who continued to fulfill their celestial duties under the new divine regime. Perhaps this was Zeus's acknowledgement of the essential nature of Thea's gift to the world, the ordering of light itself into the rhythms we know today. Through Helios, Selene, and Eos, the daily cycle of light and darkness continued unbroken, a testament to their mother's enduring legacy. The ancient Greeks recognized in Thea a fundamental truth about the nature of divinity. That true power often lies not in direct rule, but in the ability to create and nurture those forces that make life itself possible. As the mother of light, Thea's influence touches every living thing that turns its face to the sun, every lover who has ever gazed at the moon, every poet who has marveled at the colors of dawn. In our modern world, where artificial lights push back the darkness and we sometimes forget to look up at the sky, Thea's story reminds us of the profound mystery and beauty of natural light. Her legacy lives on in every sunrise that takes our breath away, every moonlit night that fills us with wonder, every glimmer of gold that catches our eye and reminds us of the divine. What would Thea make of our world today, where her children's domains have been so thoroughly studied and explained by science? Perhaps she would smile, knowing that even as we understand the mechanics of light, its power to move and inspire us remains as mysterious and magical as ever. For in every ray of sunlight that warms our face, every moonbeam that silvers the night, every rosy-fingered dawn that greets us, we experience anew the gifts of Thea, the far-shining one, mother of lights, whose ancient power continues to illuminate our world. Look to the lights above, the ancient Greeks might say, and remember Thea, who first taught the cosmos to shine. Rhea, queen of the Titans born to the union of sky and earth, Rhea emerged as one of the 12 original Titans, those primal deities who ruled before the Olympians. She embodied the eternal flow of generations, the nurturing force of motherhood, and the fertile abundance of nature itself. As the Greeks gazed upon their mountainous lands and fertile valleys, they saw Rhea's influence in every sprouting seed, in every mother's tender care, in the very rhythm of life itself. Like her mother Gaia before her, Rhea possessed an innate connection to the natural world. But where Gaia represented the raw earth itself, Rhea embodied its gentler aspects, the soft soil that cradles seeds, the spring rains that nourish new growth, the cyclical dance of seasons that brings forth life anew. She became the bride of her brother Cronus, and together they ushered in what poets would later call the Golden Age, a time of prosperity and harmony among immortals. Rhea's power manifested in multiple forms, each connected to her role as the great Mother Titan. She held dominion over fertility in all its forms, not just the bearing of children, but the fertility of the earth itself. Mountains were her crown, lions her faithful companions, drawing her chariot across the ancient world. In her hands, she held the power to bring forth abundance or withhold it, to nurture growth or let it lie dormant. But perhaps her greatest power lay in her capacity for love, a force so profound it would ultimately overthrow a titan and establish a new divine order. Rhea possessed the gift of prophecy, though she wielded it differently than the oracle titans. Hers was the intuitive foresight of a mother, the deep wisdom that comes from understanding the cycles of creation and destruction. She was often depicted crowned with a tower, symbolizing her role as protector of cities and communities. Her sacred symbols included the pine tree, whose evergreen nature reflected her eternal nurturing presence, and the pair of lions that showed both her wild nature and her ability to tame even the fiercest forces. The most defining chapter of Rhea's story began with a terrible prophecy. Her husband Cronus, having overthrown his own father Uranus, learned that he too would be deposed by his own child. Fear twisted his heart, and he devised a horrific solution. He would swallow each of his children at birth, trapping them forever in his divine belly. One by one, Rhea watched in agony as her newborns were consumed. First Hestia, then Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. But when she carried Zeus, her youngest, Rhea's maternal love sparked a rebellion that would change everything. Working in secret with Gaia, she devised a plan. When the time came to present the infant Zeus to Cronus, she instead offered him a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes, which he swallowed without question. The real Zeus was spirited away to Crete, where he was raised in secret by nymphs who fed him on honey and goat's milk. In the dark cave of Mount Ida, Rhea's gambit proved successful. Zeus grew strong, and when he reached maturity, he returned to challenge his father. With Rhea's help, he freed his siblings from Cronus's belly and initiated the Great Titanomachy, the war that would end the reign of the Titans and establish the rule of the Olympians. Ancient Greek proverb. From the depths of time, through the ages of gods and men, no force has proved more powerful than a mother's love for her children. Themis, Titan of divine law, prophecy and justice born in the age of Titans, Themis emerged from the union of Uranus, the vast sky, and Gaia, the life-giving earth. This parentage marked her as one of the eldest deities, a being who witnessed the very foundations of creation. Unlike her more turbulent Titan siblings, Themis represented stability amidst chaos, order within discord. She stood as one of the few Titans who would not only survive the great war between Titans and Olympians, but would go on to become an indispensable advisor to Zeus himself. Her powers flowed from the very fabric of existence. As the personification of divine law, Themis didn't merely enforce rules. She embodied the natural order that kept the cosmos from descending into chaos. Her prophetic abilities weren't limited to glimpses of possible futures. They stemmed from her profound understanding of cause and effect, of actions and their inevitable consequences. When she spoke, her words carried the weight of universal truth, for she saw not just what would be, but what must be to maintain the balance of all things. In her role as the goddess of justice, Themis possessed unique attributes that set her apart from other deities. Her blindfold represented impartiality, but her vision extended far beyond physical sight. She could peer into the hearts of those who sought judgment, weighing not just their actions, but their intentions. The scales she carried weren't mere symbols. They could measure the weight of a soul against the feather of truth itself. Her sword served not to threaten, but to sever truth from falsehood with surgical precision. Perhaps one of the most compelling tales of Themis's influence comes from her role in establishing the Delphic oracle. Before Apollo claimed the sacred site, it was Themis who first spoke prophecies from the ancient stone, her voice carrying the weight of fate itself. The story tells of how she would sit upon the sacred tripod, breathing in the vapors rising from the earth's depths, and speak truths that even the gods dared not ignore. It was she who first established the ritual of prophecy, teaching mortals how to interpret the whispers of fate. Another pivotal myth centers on her role during the Great Flood of Deucalion. When Zeus decided to cleanse the earth of humanity's corruption, it was Themis who guided the righteous Deucalion and his wife Hera to safety. After the waters receded, she provided them with the cryptic yet crucial instructions for repopulating the earth. Cover your heads and throw your mother's bones behind you. Understanding that the Great Mother was Gaia and her bones were stones, they followed her guidance, and from these stones arose a new, more just humanity. During the Titanomachy, the great war between Titans and Olympians, Themis demonstrated her ultimate loyalty to justice over family ties. Foreseeing that Zeus and the Olympians would establish a more balanced order, she sided with them against her own Titan kin. This choice wasn't betrayal, but rather a demonstration of her unwavering commitment to cosmic justice above all else. Zeus, recognizing her wisdom, made her his first divine counselor, and it was her guidance that helped establish the laws that would govern both gods and mortals. Today, Themis's legacy endures far beyond the realm of myth. Her image adorns courthouses worldwide, her blindfolded form holding the scales of justice, serving as a universal symbol of impartial judgment. She reminds us that true justice transcends personal bias, that divine law operates on principles far deeper than human legislation. In an age where justice often seems as elusive as ever, Themis's story resonates with particular power. She represents not just the law as we write it, but the fundamental principles of fairness and order that make civilization possible. Her prophecies remind us that our actions have consequences, that the future grows inevitably from the seeds we plant today. What would Themis see if she removed her blindfold and gazed upon our modern world? Perhaps she would remind us that justice, like truth, is not something we create, but something we must strive to discover and uphold. In her eternal wisdom, she might tell us that the scales of justice remain balanced not by force, but by our collective commitment to seek truth and honor the divine order that binds us all. Where law ends, tyranny begins. These words, echoing through millennia, capture the essence of Themis's eternal message, that justice is not merely a human construct, but a cosmic principle as old as the universe itself. Mnemosyne, the keepers of memory, prophecy, and waters, before the first scroll was written, before the first story was etched in clay, there was Mnemosyne. Born of Uranus and Gaia, she emerged as the embodiment of memory itself, not merely the keeper of past events, but the very force that allows consciousness to persist through time. Picture her as an ethereal figure. Her flowing robes shimmer with countless reflecting surfaces, each one holding a different memory of creation. In the golden age of the Titans, Mnemosyne's power was absolute. Every thought, every deed, every moment of joy or sorrow passed through her cosmic awareness, but it was her union with Zeus that would create her most lasting legacy. For 9 consecutive nights, the king of gods visited her in Pieria, and from these encounters 9 daughters were born, the Muses, each blessed with their mother's gift for remembrance and their father's divine spark. The Muses became the guardians of human creativity, Calliope of epic poetry, Clio of history, Erato of love poetry, Euterpe of music, Melpomene of tragedy, Polyhymnia of sacred song, Terpsichore of dance, Thalia of comedy, and Urania of astronomy. Through them, Mnemosyne's gift of memory transformed into the arts that define human civilization. Where Mnemosyne preserves the past, Phoebe illuminates the future. Her name means bright one, and truly she shines with prophetic radiance. Before Apollo claimed his oracle at Delphi, it was Phoebe who first whispered futures into the minds of mortals. Her wisdom flows like moonlight, subtle yet profound, revealing truths hidden in shadow. Phoebe's legacy extends through her daughter Leto, who bore Apollo and Artemis, the twin archers of Olympus. Thus the gift of prophecy passed from grandmother to grandson, as Apollo inherited the mantle of prophecy. Yet Phoebe's influence remains in every silver beam of moonlight that guides travelers through darkness, in every moment of sudden clarity that strikes like lightning in the night. Those who sought her wisdom would find her in sacred groves where moonlight dappled the ground like scattered coins. Here she would reveal visions of what might be, though always wrapped in riddles that required wisdom to unravel. For Phoebe understood that true prophecy was not about simple answers, but about preparing the heart for what must come. Tethys, mother of waters deep beneath the earth's surface, where freshwater springs burst forth from hidden chambers, Tethys reigns eternal. Wife to Oceanus, she is mother to 3,000 river nymphs, the Oceanids, and all the river gods, who pour their waters across the earth. Every stream that has ever quenched thirst or nourished crops flows from her abundant spirit. Picture her palace beneath the waves, where waters of all the world's rivers mingle before finding their paths to the surface. Here Tethys tends to her children with the patience of geological time, teaching each river its course, each spring its song. Her love flows through every drop of fresh water that sustains life on earth. Most fascinating is her role in the daily journey of Helios, the sun god. According to ancient tales, it was Tethys who received the weary sun god each evening in the west, tending to him through the night before his next day's journey across the sky. This nurturing aspect of her nature extended beyond her own children to all the gods who sought her counsel and care. Together, these three titanesses form a profound trinity of cosmic power. Mnemosyne preserves what was, Phoebe illuminates what will be, and Tethys nurtures all that is. Their influence extends far beyond the realm of myth, touching upon fundamental aspects of human existence, our need to remember, to understand our future, and to be sustained by the waters of life. In our modern world, we might see Mnemosyne. In our desperate attempts to document every moment of our lives, Phoebe in our constant quest to predict and prepare for what lies ahead, and Tethys in our growing awareness of water's precious nature. Their stories remind us that some powers are so fundamental, so essential to existence, that they transcend the rise and fall of pantheons. As you drink from a clear spring, remember Tethys. As you gaze at the prophetic moon, think of Phoebe. And as you recall this very moment, know that Mnemosyne's power flows through you, connecting past to present, mortal to divine, in an endless stream of consciousness that has flowed since the dawn of time. What memories will you create today that are worthy of Mnemosyne's keeping? What moonlit wisdom might Phoebe reveal in your dreams? And in which of Tethys's countless streams might you find reflection of your own eternal spirit? Hera, queen of the gods, goddess of marriage and childbirth, in the beginning, like her siblings, Hera was swallowed whole by her father, the Titan Cronus, who feared his children would overthrow him. When finally freed by her younger brother Zeus, she emerged not as a frightened child, but as a fully formed goddess of extraordinary beauty and determination. While her siblings rushed to claim their divine domains, Poseidon the seas, Demeter the earth's bounty, Hera set her sights higher. She understood that true power lay not just in ruling a realm, but in ruling the ruler himself. Zeus pursued her relentlessly, but Hera refused his advances for 300 years. She knew her worth and would not be merely another conquest. Only when he approached her in the form of a distressed cuckoo bird, which she tenderly cradled to warm it from a storm he had created, did she finally accept his proposal. Their wedding was legendary. Golden apples grew in the garden of the Hesperides, and the earth herself produced a tree with golden branches as a wedding gift. Hera's powers extend far beyond her role as Zeus's wife. As goddess of marriage, she holds dominion over life's most sacred bonds. Every wedding oath sworn is a whisper in her ear, every promise of fidelity a thread in her tapestry of order. Her sacred animals, the peacock, cow, and cuckoo, represent her different aspects: pride, nurturing, and the complex nature of love. But perhaps her greatest power lies in her authority over childbirth. With a mere gesture, she can ease a mother's labor or prolong it indefinitely. The cries of women in childbirth are prayers to Hera, and she listens to each one, determining their fate with the wisdom of one who understands both the joy and pain of motherhood. Yet Hera is also known for her fierce temper and unwavering sense of justice. When crossed, her vengeance is as swift as it is terrible. She transforms rivals into beasts, sends serpents to destroy those who boast too proudly, and ensures that those who disrespect the sanctity of marriage face divine retribution. But remember, her anger is not mere jealousy, but the righteous fury of order against chaos, of loyalty against betrayal. The tale of Heracles, later known as Hercules, perhaps best illustrates Hera's complex nature. When Zeus's mortal son was born to Alcmene, Hera's wrath was terrible to behold. She sent serpents to kill the infant in his crib, not out of simple jealousy, but because his very existence mocked the sacred bonds of marriage she protected. Yet when Heracles proved himself by strangling the snakes, something changed in Hera. She began to see his trials as an opportunity to prove the strength of legitimate marriage over illicit affairs. The story of Semele reveals another facet of Hera's character. When Zeus fell in love with this mortal princess, Hera didn't act out of blind rage. Instead, she approached Semele in disguise, playing upon the young woman's pride and ambition. She convinced Semele to demand that Zeus reveal himself in his true divine form, knowing full well that no mortal could survive such a sight. When Semele was consumed by Zeus's lightning, it was a lesson to all. The divine and mortal realms must maintain their proper boundaries. But perhaps most revealing is the myth of Leto, mother of Apollo and Artemis. When Hera learned of Zeus's affair with Leto, she didn't punish the woman directly. Instead, she decreed that Leto could not give birth on any land that the sun touched. This clever curse showed Hera's strategic mind. She didn't need to resort to violence when her wit could serve just as well. Yet when Leto finally found refuge on the floating island of Delos, Hera's reaction revealed her capacity for growth. She allowed the birth to proceed, recognizing that sometimes even the queen of gods must bow to fate. As the Greeks used to say, Hera teleia, Hera the fulfiller. For in the end, she represents not just marriage and childbirth, but the fulfillment of our highest potential through the sacred bonds we choose to honor. Demeter, goddess of harvest, cycles, and sacred continuity. In the pantheon of Olympian gods, Demeter was never about conquest or drama. She was earth incarnate, fertile, generous, and fiercely protective. While her siblings battled for supremacy, she cultivated something far more powerful, the delicate balance of life itself. Her domain was not the sky or the underworld, but the fertile ground between, where seeds transform into sustenance, where barren earth becomes a canvas of abundance. As one of the original Olympians, Demeter represented more than agriculture. She was the embodiment of sacred agricultural wisdom, the keeper of ritualistic laws that governed humanity's relationship with the land. Her knowledge was not just divine, it was practical, passed from generation to generation through careful observation and deep respect for natural rhythms. Demeter's powers transcended simple fertility. She controlled the fertility of the earth and the cycles of plant life, but her influence ran much deeper. She understood the intricate dance between life and death, growth and decay. Her power lay in transformation, turning seeds into crops, winter's barrenness into spring's promise. Her symbols told her story, sheaves of wheat representing abundance, the cornucopia signifying endless nourishment, and the torch symbolizing the mysteries of life's continuous renewal. But more than symbols, these represented her fundamental connection to human survival. In her hands, agriculture was not just a means of sustenance, but a sacred covenant between divine will and human effort. But no story of Demeter is complete without understanding her most profound myth, the tale of her daughter Persephone's abduction by Hades, the god of the underworld. This was not merely a story of loss, but a cosmic explanation for the changing seasons. Picture Persephone, young and vibrant, gathering flowers in a lush meadow. Suddenly the earth splits open. Hades emerges, captivated by her beauty, and takes her to the underworld. Demeter's grief was not silent. It was a tempest of maternal rage and sorrow that would transform the entire world. For 9 days and nights, Demeter wandered the earth, her divine grief manifesting as barrenness. Crops withered, trees dropped their leaves, and the earth became a reflection of her broken heart. Her suffering was so profound that it threatened the very existence of life on earth. Eventually, a compromise was struck. Persephone would spend part of the year with Hades and part with her mother. This divine negotiation became the mythological explanation for seasons. When Persephone returns to the underworld, Demeter's grief turns the world cold and lifeless. When her daughter returns, life bursts forth in vibrant renewal. Demeter's significance extended far beyond storytelling. She was central to the Eleusinian mysteries, the most sacred religious rites in ancient Greece. These mysterious ceremonies, kept secret for centuries, celebrated the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. teaching initiates that life is continuous, that death is not an end, but a transformation. Her lessons were profound. Respect the earth. Understand its cycles. Recognize that what seems like an ending is often just a different beginning. In a world increasingly disconnected from natural rhythms, Demeter's mythology remains a powerful reminder of our fundamental connection to the earth. Hestia, the gentle goddess of the hearth. Hestia was no ordinary goddess. Born to the Titans Cronus and Rhea, she was the first child swallowed by her father, and the last to be regurgitated when Zeus led the revolt against the Titans. In the chaotic birth of the Olympian pantheon, Hestia stood as a symbol of stability, the first sacrificed and the first restored. Unlike her siblings, who craved battle, conquest, and dramatic interventions in human affairs, Hestia chose a different path. She represented something more subtle yet profoundly powerful, the sanctity of home, the warmth of family, and the unbreakable spirit of domestic harmony. When the Olympian gods divided the cosmic realms, Hestia made a remarkable choice. She voluntarily surrendered her seat among the 12 Olympians, allowing Dionysus to take her place. This extraordinary act was not a sign of weakness, but of supreme wisdom. She understood that her true power lay not in grand celestial battles, but in the quiet, continuous nurturing of human connection. Hestia's power was unlike any other divine gift. Where Ares brought war and Poseidon unleashed tempests, Hestia offered something far more fundamental, the flame that separated humans from beasts. Every home's hearth was her sacred altar, every cooking fire her blessing. In ancient Greek society, this was no mere metaphor. The hearth was the literal and spiritual center of domestic life, where food was prepared, where families gathered, where strangers were welcomed, and where sacred rituals were performed. Her domain extended beyond physical warmth. Hestia represented social harmony, community bonds, and the delicate art of maintaining peace. She was the guardian of domestic rituals, the protector of familial relationships. When a new colony was established, the first task was to light a flame from the sacred hearth of the mother city, a ritual that symbolized continuity, respect for tradition, and the unbroken connection between past and present. While other gods demanded dramatic sacrifices, Hestia asked for something more profound, mindfulness. In one legendary tale, a traveler approached various gods, seeking hospitality. Most turned him away, consumed by their own divine concerns. But Hestia, disguised as a poor old woman, welcomed him warmly. She shared her meager food, offered him rest, and treated him with dignity. When the traveler revealed himself as Zeus, in disguise, he blessed Hestia, proclaiming that those who honored her would never be forsaken. Another powerful narrative highlights her commitment to maintaining peace. During the tumultuous interactions between gods and mortals, Hestia remained a neutral, stabilizing force. When conflicts erupted among her divine siblings, she would retreat, her calm presence a reminder that true strength often lies in restraint and compassion. Her most sacred responsibility was maintaining the eternal flame in the temples. Priestesses, known as Vestals, were charged with keeping this flame alive, a task of immense spiritual significance. To let the flame die was considered a catastrophic omen, symbolizing the potential collapse of social order and divine favor. In a world that often celebrates the loudest and most aggressive, Hestia reminds us of something profound. True power resides not in conquest, but in nurturing. She teaches us that homes are more than physical structures. They are sanctuaries of hope, healing, and human connection. As the flames of her eternal hearth continue to burn, we are invited to reflect. What fires do we tend in our own lives? What sacred spaces do we create that offer warmth, safety, and belonging? In the soft crackling of a hearth fire, in the quiet moments of familial togetherness, Hestia whispers her timeless wisdom. Home is not a place, but a feeling. Athena, Goddess of wisdom, strategy, and civilization, picture Mount Olympus piercing the clouds, its marble peaks gleaming with divine light. Here, among the pantheon of immortal gods, a most extraordinary birth would unfold, a story that would echo through millennia, challenging everything we know about power, knowledge, and divine nature. Zeus, the king of gods, carried within him a secret more volatile than lightning, a prophecy that his own child would one day challenge his supreme rule. When he learned that his first wife, Metis, the goddess of wisdom, was pregnant, he made a choice that would forever alter the course of divine and mortal history. Consumed by fear of being overthrown, Zeus swallowed Metis whole. But the divine cannot be so easily contained. Within his own body, Metis continued to nurture her unborn child, weaving wisdom and strategy into the very fabric of the developing deity. And then, in a moment that would become legend, Zeus experienced her pain beyond comprehension. With a thunderous cry that shook the celestial realm, he split open his own skull. From this impossible birth, fully armored and radiating an aura of pure intellect, sprang Athena, the goddess who would redefine divine power. Athena was no ordinary goddess. Where other deities relied on brute strength or manipulative charm, she wielded something far more profound, pure, strategic intelligence. Her grey eyes missed nothing. They saw through deception, understood complex human motivations, and could unravel the most intricate challenges with surgical precision. She was the patron of rational thought, the protector of civilization's most delicate mechanisms. Crafts, technologies, mathematics, all found their divine inspiration in her. Weavers would look to her intricate designs, philosophers would seek her profound insights, and warriors would study her unparalleled strategic brilliance. Her symbols told her story: the owl representing wisdom and knowledge, the olive tree symbolizing peace and prosperity, the aegis, a shield of extraordinary power that could turn enemies to stone. Each icon spoke of her multifaceted nature, not just a warrior, but a nurturer of human potential. In the ancient lands of Greece, a competition would determine the city's patronage, a contest between Athena and Poseidon. Standing on the Acropolis, each god would offer a gift to win the people's devotion. Poseidon, lord of the seas, struck the ground with his mighty trident. Salt water erupted, powerful but useless for human survival. Then Athena stepped forward. With graceful precision, she planted an olive tree, its roots symbolizing life, its branches promising sustenance, its presence representing peaceful progress. The people chose wisdom over raw power. Athens was born, and with it, a civilization that would change human history forever. Not all of Athena's lessons were gentle. When a mortal weaver named Arachne boasted that her skills surpassed the goddesses, Athena appeared in disguise. Challenged to a weaving contest, Arachne created a tapestry so perfect it seemed to breathe with life. But her work mocked the gods, displaying their flaws and failures. Athena, revealing her true form, was both impressed and enraged. In a moment of divine judgment, she transformed Arachne into a spider, condemned to weave for eternity, a permanent reminder that true wisdom includes humility. Artemis, the divine huntress, imagine a realm where divinity and nature intertwine, where the boundary between mortal and immortal blurs like mist among mountain peaks. Here, Artemis emerges not just as a goddess, but as the very embodiment of wilderness itself. Born to Zeus and Leto, she entered the world with a purpose that would forever reshape the mythological landscape. Her birth was no ordinary arrival. While her mother Leto suffered persecution from the jealous Hera, seeking a safe place to deliver her divine children, Artemis demonstrated extraordinary power from her very first moments. Miraculously, she assisted her mother in delivering her twin brother Apollo, becoming a midwife before she was even a day old. This early display of strength and compassion would define her entire existence, a protector, a nurturer, yet simultaneously a fierce and independent force of nature. From the moment she could choose her domain, Artemis requested something extraordinary from her father, Zeus. She sought eternal virginity, independence, and the freedom to roam wild territories, unencumbered by the expectations that bound other goddesses. Zeus, moved by her passion and clarity of purpose, granted her wishes. With this divine benediction, Artemis crafted her identity, a goddess who would never be possessed, never be controlled, always remaining true to her wild, uncompromising spirit. Her powers transcended mere mythological capability. Artemis represented something profound, the raw, untamed essence of wilderness. With her silver bow, crafted by the divine craftsman, the Cyclopes, she could strike with pinpoint accuracy, her arrows finding their mark with supernatural precision. But her domain extended far beyond hunting. She was the protector of young girls, the guardian of childbirth, and the silent sentinel of forest creatures. The wilderness was her true kingdom. Dense forests, rugged mountains, hidden valleys. These were her temples, her sanctuaries, where other gods demanded elaborate marble structures and ornate sacrifices. Artemis required only the pure, untouched landscapes. Her worshippers understood that to honor her was to respect the natural world, to hunt with purpose, not excess, to live in harmony with the rhythms of the earth. Yet Artemis was not without her moments of fierce, legendary justice. Her myths are populated with stories that reveal her uncompromising nature. Take the tale of Actaeon, a hunter who accidentally witnessed her bathing. For this unintended transgression, she transformed him into a stag, allowing his own hunting dogs to tear him apart. This wasn't mere punishment, but a profound statement. Those who violate the sanctity of the wilderness will face nature's unforgiving judgment. Another powerful narrative surrounds Orion, a hunter so skilled that he captured Artemis's rare admiration. Their relationship was complex, a rare connection for the perpetually independent goddess. Some myths suggest Apollo, protective of his sister, orchestrated Orion's death by a scorpion's sting, unable to bear the potential of his sister forming a deep bond. Others tell of Artemis herself accidentally killing Orion, a moment of tragic miscalculation that haunted her immortal existence. Her connection to the moon was equally significant. While her brother Apollo represented the sun's brilliant, aggressive energy, Artemis embodied the moon's mysterious reflective power. She wasn't just associated with the moon, she became its living essence. Her silver chariot traversed the night sky, casting a gentle, transformative light that revealed hidden truths and guided travelers through darkness. Artemis represented a revolutionary concept in a patriarchal mythological system. She was powerful without seeking to dominate, independent without rejecting connection, and fierce without losing compassion. Her virginity wasn't about sexual denial, but about maintaining absolute autonomy in a world that constantly sought to define and limit women. In our modern world, Artemis remains a profound symbol. She represents the untamed potential within us all, the part of ourselves that refuses to be domesticated, that finds strength in solitude, and that protects what is pure and vulnerable. She reminds us that true power isn't about conquest, but about understanding our inherent connection to the natural world. As the moonlight filters through ancient forests, as wild creatures move silently beneath starlit skies, Artemis continues to whisper her timeless message: be wild, be free, protect what is sacred, and above all, remain true to your most authentic self. What wilderness lies dormant within you, waiting to be awakened? Aphrodite, goddess of love, beauty, and desire. Imagine a moment when the sea breathes life itself, foam churning, waves dancing with an ancient rhythm, creating something beyond mortal understanding. From the scattered remnants of divine violence, from the pure white sea foam, born of primordial chaos, she emerges, Aphrodite, the goddess who would become the very embodiment of love, beauty, and desire. Her birth was no ordinary arrival. Legend speaks of how she rose from the maritime embrace, perfect and luminous, her skin gleaming like polished marble, her eyes holding the depth of countless oceans. The moment she stepped onto the shores of Cyprus, flowers bloomed beneath her. Feet and the very air seemed to shimmer with an ethereal radiance. The story of Aphrodite's birth is as tumultuous as love itself. When Cronus, in a violent act of rebellion against his father Uranus, castrated him and threw his severed genitals into the sea, the divine blood and sea foam began to churn. From this primal mixture of destruction and creation, Aphrodite was born, a goddess emerging not from a mother's womb, but from the raw elemental forces of the universe. Some tell her origin differently, claiming she is the daughter of Zeus and Dione. But regardless of her precise lineage, one truth remains. Aphrodite was destined to be extraordinary. She was beauty personified, a force so compelling that even the other Olympian gods would be captivated by her presence. Aphrodite's powers extended far beyond mere physical beauty. She commanded the most profound and transformative of human emotions. Love in all its complexity, passionate, tender, destructive, and healing. Her golden girdle, a mystical accessory that could make anyone fall in love, symbolized her ultimate power, the ability to inspire desire and connection. When she moved, clouds parted. When she spoke, hearts trembled. Her influence was not just about romantic love, but about the deeper currents of human connection, the invisible threads that bind souls, the magnetic pull that draws two beings together against all rational thought. Despite being married to Hephaestus, a skilled but physically imperfect god, Aphrodite's heart belonged to Ares, the wild and passionate god of war. Their love affair was a scandalous dance of desire and danger. When Hephaestus discovered their relationship, he crafted an ingenious trap, capturing the lovers in a nearly invisible golden net, exposing their intimacy to all the Olympian gods. This myth reveals a profound truth. Love does not conform to societal expectations. It is raw, sometimes messy, often defying the boundaries we try to impose upon it. Perhaps her most heart-wrenching tale involves Adonis, a mortal of such extraordinary beauty that he captured Aphrodite's heart completely. Their love was intense, but tragically brief. When Adonis was killed by a wild boar, some say orchestrated by the jealous god Ares, Aphrodite's grief was so profound that she transformed his spilled blood into anemone flowers, ensuring his memory would bloom eternally. In this myth, we see the vulnerability of even a goddess, that love can make even the most powerful being achingly human. Aphrodite's role in the events leading to the Trojan War demonstrates her manipulative yet irresistible nature. When asked to judge which goddess was the most beautiful, herself, Hera, or Athena, she promised Paris the love of the most beautiful mortal woman, Helen of Sparta. Her promise sparked a conflict that would reshape the ancient world, showing that love and desire can be as destructive as they are creative. In every heartbeat, in every moment of connection, in every tear of joy and sorrow, Aphrodite lives. She whispers in the language of desire, dances in the rhythm of passion, and watches over humanity's endless, beautiful struggle to love and be loved. Love, she seems to say, is not a choice. It is a force as old as the universe itself. Urania, primordial goddess of creation and order, before the mountains rose from the earth, before the rivers carved their paths through ancient stone, there existed a divine dancer upon the primordial waters. This was Urania, the goddess who rose from chaos, her movements creating the very rhythm of existence itself. In the vast emptiness of the pre-creation void, she emerged as a figure of pure potential, her dance bringing forth the winds that would shape the world. Born of the infinite waters of creation, Urania would become the architect of order itself, transforming the formless void into the structured cosmos we know today. In the beginning there was only chaos, a vast, formless expanse of possibility. From these primordial waters arose Urania, her emergence marking the first stirring of conscious creation in the universe. Unlike the later Olympian deities who would rule over specific domains, Urania represented something far more fundamental. The very principle of order, emerging from chaos, a form arising from formlessness. The ancient Pelasgians, who inhabited Greece before the Hellenic peoples, held Urania as their supreme goddess. In their eyes, she was the great goddess, the mother of all things, who existed before all else. She emerged from the nothingness self-created, her very existence a miracle that would spark the beginning of everything we know. Urania's powers were as vast as the cosmos itself, but they manifested not through lightning bolts or storms, but through the graceful art of dance and the subtle force of order. Her most profound power was that of creation through movement, each gesture, each step, each twirl, bringing new aspects of reality into being. She was the embodiment of creative force itself, her dance the first expression of artistic creation. In the universe, in her hands, chaos became cosmos, disorder transformed into harmony. She possessed the power to separate the elements, to establish boundaries, and to set the rhythms of nature itself. Her dance was not merely performance, but profound magic, the magic of bringing form to the formless, of crafting beauty from emptiness. The goddess carried with her the symbols of creation, the spiral, representing the dance of life itself, the north wind, which she captured to begin her work of creation, and the great cosmic serpent Ophion, whom she would transform into an instrument of creation. These symbols spoke to her nature as a creator who worked not through force, but through transformation and harmony. The most significant myth of Urania tells of her great dance of creation. Rising from chaos, she found nothing solid to support her feet. As she began to dance upon the endless waters, she separated the sea from the sky, creating the first space in which creation could unfold. Her movements grew more elaborate, more purposeful, stirring the north wind into being. As she danced, she caught this wind, molding it between her hands until it took the form of the great serpent Ophion. In what would become the first act of creation through dance, Urania moved in ever-widening circles, her rhythmic steps and graceful gestures establishing the very patterns that would govern the cosmos. Another profound tale speaks of her union with Ophion. After creating the serpent, she danced with him in an eternal spiral, their movements eventually creating the universal egg from which all things would emerge. However, when Ophion claimed credit for creation itself, Urania demonstrated another aspect of her power, that of maintaining cosmic order. She banished him to the dark caves beneath the earth, establishing that true creation comes from the harmony of opposing forces, not from dominance and pride. The story of Urania carries profound significance for understanding both ancient Greek spirituality and our modern relationship with creation and order. In her dance, we see the first expression of artistic creation, the transformation of raw material into something meaningful and beautiful. Her myths remind us that creation is not always an act of force or will, but can be one of grace, movement, and harmony. In our modern world, where we often seek to impose order through rigid structures and systems, Urania's dance offers a different perspective. She shows us that true order emerges from movement and flow, from the dance between chaos and structure. Her legacy teaches us that creativity and organization need not be opposing forces, but can move together in perfect harmony. As we contemplate Urania's eternal dance, we might ask ourselves, in our own acts of creation and organization, do we move with the grace of the cosmos dancer, or do we try to force order upon chaos? Perhaps in learning to dance with uncertainty, rather than struggling against it, we might find our own path to creating beauty from the void. Ananke, primordial goddess of necessity and fate, before there was light, Before the dawn of gods and mortals, there existed a force so fundamental that even Zeus himself bowed before her power. In the endless void of chaos, she emerged. Ananke, the primordial goddess of necessity, inevitability, and fate. Imagine a being so ancient that time itself was merely her shadow, so powerful that the very laws of existence flowed from her essence. This is not just another tale of the gods. This is the story of the force that binds them all. Unlike the Olympians with their grand temples and elaborate ceremonies, Ananke's presence was felt in every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of existence. She was the invisible thread that wove through the fabric of reality itself. Some called her necessity, others named her inevitability, but all understood that her power was absolute and inescapable. In the beginning, when existence was nothing but infinite possibility, Ananke emerged from chaos alongside her counterpart, Kronos, time itself. Together, they performed the first and most crucial dance of creation. As they moved through the void, their eternal embrace shaped the very boundaries of the cosmos. Ananke's serpentine form wrapped around the primal egg of existence, her coils, establishing the fundamental laws that would govern all things. She was not born as other gods were born. She simply was, as necessity simply is. The ancient Greeks understood that while Zeus might rule Olympus and Poseidon might command the seas, it was Ananke who determined what must be. Even the greatest of the gods could not defy her decrees, for she represented the very concept of inevitability. Ananke's powers transcended the usual divine abilities of the Olympian pantheon. While other gods could control elements or aspects of life, she controlled the very fabric of necessity itself. Imagine a force that determines not just what will happen, but what must happen. This was Ananke's domain. Her influence was subtle, yet absolute, like the laws of nature themselves. With her daughters, the three Moirai or fates, she wove the tapestry of destiny. Clotho spun the thread of life. Lachesis measured its length, and Atropos cut it at its appointed time. But it was Ananke who determined the pattern of the weave. Every mortal life, every divine decree, every cosmic event fell under her jurisdiction. Unlike her Olympian counterparts, Ananke did not act on whim or emotion. Her decisions were as immutable as mathematics, as inevitable as the changing of seasons. She represented not just fate, but the logical necessity that underlies all of existence. The Greeks believed that even the gods themselves were bound by her laws, not through force, but through the simple fact that some things must be. One of the most profound stories involving Ananke concerns the fate of Zeus himself. When the king of gods sought to prevent the prophecy that his son would overthrow him, just as he had overthrown his own father, Ananke's power proved supreme. Despite all his efforts, Zeus could not escape the necessity she had woven into the fabric of reality. This tale served as a powerful reminder that even the mightiest must bow before necessity. Another striking myth tells of Ananke's role in the Great Trojan War. When Paris and Helen fell in love, many blamed Aphrodite's influence, but the wise understood that it was Ananke's necessity at work. The war was not just a result of human passion or divine meddling. It was an inevitable consequence of cosmic law, a necessary chapter in the great story of civilization. Perhaps most poignantly, there is the tale of Orpheus and Eurydice. When Orpheus defied death itself to rescue his beloved from the underworld, it was not Hades' rules he ultimately failed to overcome, but Ananke's necessity. Some things, the Greeks understood, must remain as they are, regardless of our desires or efforts. Even today, Ananke's influence resonates in our understanding of the universe. When scientists speak of natural laws, when philosophers ponder determinism, when we grapple with the inevitable cycles of life and death, we are touching upon the same fundamental truths that the ancient Greeks personified in Ananke. Her legacy teaches us that there are some things we must accept, not because we are weak, but because they are necessary. Yet within the bounds of necessity, we find our greatest freedom, for understanding what must be helps us focus on what can be. Eos, goddess of the dawn every morning, as the first hints of light kiss the eastern horizon, an ancient story unfolds. Before Apollo guides his blazing chariot across the sky, before mortals stir from their dreams, a goddess rises. Her rosy fingers part the curtain of night, painting the heavens in shades of pink and gold. This is Eos, goddess of the dawn, whose tears of dew herald each new day. Born of the Titans, Hyperion and Thea, sister to Helios the sun and Selene the moon, Eos stands as one of the most essential yet tragic figures in Greek mythology, a goddess whose heart burned as brightly as the dawn she brought forth, but whose love stories would forever be tinged with sorrow. The ancient Greeks knew her as the one who opened the gates of heaven, allowing her brother Helios to begin his daily journey across the sky. In Roman mythology, she became Aurora, but her essence remained unchanged, an immortal whose very presence transformed darkness into light, whose beauty captivated both gods and mortals alike. Yet behind this daily miracle lay a story of passion, punishment, and the price of divine love. As daughter of the Titans, Eos inherited their primordial power, but manifested it in ways uniquely her own. Each dawn, she would rise from her golden throne in the east, mounting her chariot drawn by the magnificent winged horses Olympus and Phaethon. Her arrival brought more than just light. She carried hope itself, renewal, the promise that no darkness, no matter how deep, could resist the gentle persistence of dawn. Her powers extended beyond mere illumination. She possessed the ability to rejuvenate, to transform the world from the shadows of night into the vibrant palette of day. But perhaps Eos's most defining trait was her heart, as warm and passionate as the morning light she brought forth. This would prove both her greatest blessing and her most devastating curse, for Eos loved deeply and often, her affections as boundless as the sky itself. Yet this very capacity for love would lead to one of her most famous curses, laid upon her by Aphrodite herself. The story goes that Aphrodite discovered Eos in a passionate embrace with Ares, the god of war. Enraged by this affair with her lover, Aphrodite cursed Eos with an insatiable desire for young mortal men. This curse would lead to a series of tragic love affairs that would define much of Eos's mythology and reveal the complex relationship between divine love and mortal limitations. Among her most famous loves was Tithonus, a prince of Troy, whose beauty captured the goddess's heart. So deep was her love that Eos petitioned Zeus himself to grant Tithonus immortality. Zeus, perhaps, with a touch of cruel wisdom, granted her wish exactly as she worded it: immortality for Tithonus, but not eternal youth. As years passed, Tithonus continued to age, while Eos remained forever young. He grew older and older, his body withering while his spirit remained trapped within, unable to find release in death. Eventually, Eos, in an act of mercy and grief, transformed him into a cicada whose song can still be heard in the early morning hours. Another of her great loves was Orion, the mighty hunter. Their affair was one of passion and shared adventures, but like many of Eos's romances, it ended in tragedy. Some versions of the myth say that Artemis, either out of jealousy or protective fury, slew Orion with her arrows. Eos's grief was so profound that her tears became the morning dew, a tradition that continues to this day, each droplet a reminder of divine love and mortal loss. Perhaps most poignant was her relationship with Cephalus, a hunter whom she abducted from his beloved wife Procris. Though Eos offered him divine love and immortality, Cephalus's heart remained with his mortal wife. This tale speaks to the complex nature of love itself, how even the most radiant divine passion might not outshine the simple, mortal love between two human hearts. Yet despite these tragedies, Eos never failed in her divine duties. Each morning, without fail, she would rise to paint the sky anew. Her tears might fall as dew, but they would sparkle with the promise of renewal, of beginning again. In this way, she embodied both the persistence of hope and the cyclical nature of love and loss. The significance of Eos extends far beyond her role as a mere timekeeper of the day. She represents the eternal cycle of renewal, the promise that after every night, no matter how dark, dawn will come again. Her stories teach us about the complexity of love, its power to elevate us to divine heights, and its potential to bring even the mighty low. In her endless task of bringing forth the dawn, we see the importance of persistence, of carrying on despite personal sorrow. To the ancient Greeks, Eos was more than just a goddess. She was a daily reminder that each morning brings new possibilities, new chances to begin again. Her tears of dew weren't just symbols of sadness, but of cleansing, of washing away the old to make way for the new. In our modern world, as we witness each sunrise, we participate in this ancient story of renewal and hope. Perhaps the most profound lesson from Eos's mythology is this: even immortal hearts can break, yet they continue to love, continue to rise, continue to paint the sky with hope each morning. In her eternal dance between shadow and light, between love and loss, we see reflected our own journey through life's darknesses toward dawn. As the sun rises tomorrow, remember Eos's rosy fingers painting the sky, her tears of dew blessing the earth. For in each dawn lies the truth she has taught us through the ages, that no matter what sorrows the night may bring, morning will come again, bearing with it the eternal promise of beginning anew. The Charities, Graces, goddesses of beauty, charm, and joy, in the golden age of ancient Greece, when the gods walked among mortals and divine music filled the air, three sisters danced eternal through the halls of Olympus. The Charities, known to the Romans as the Graces, moved with such ethereal beauty that flowers bloomed beneath their feet and happiness rippled through the air in their wake. These daughters of Zeus and the Oceanid Urania embodied all that was graceful and beautiful in the world, their very presence a gift to both gods and mortals alike. Their names were Aglaia, Splendor, Euphrosyne, Mirth, and Thalia, Good Cheer, and their story is one of pure joy, eternal beauty, and the divine spark that lives within every act of kindness. Like dewdrops catching the first light of dawn, the Charities emerged from the union of the King of Gods and the daughter of Ocean. Born into divinity, they soon became inseparable companions to Aphrodite herself, attending the goddess of love and enhancing her radiance with their presence. In the earliest days, some regions of Greece worshipped different numbers of Graces, 2 in Sparta, 4 in Athens. But it was the triad that captured the hearts and imagination of the ancient world, their number reflecting the perfect balance of giving, receiving, and returning. The sisters made their home on Mount Olympus, but their influence touched every corner of the mortal realm. Cities built temples in their honor, artists captured their likeness in marble and bronze, and poets sang of their beauty. They were often depicted as 3 young women dancing in a circle, their hands clasped in eternal unity. In earlier artworks, they appeared clothed in diaphanous robes, but later representations showed them nude, symbolizing the pure, unadorned nature of grace and beauty. Powers and divine attributes, each of the Charities possessed unique qualities that, when combined, created the very essence of grace. Aglaia, the youngest and most radiant, represented splendor and glory. She would later become the wife of Hephaestus, bringing beauty to the forge of the divine craftsman. Euphrosyne embodied the heart's joy and mirth, her laughter said to chase away all shadows of sorrow. Thalia, whose name means flourishing, brought good cheer and festive abundance wherever she went. Together, they presided over all of life's pleasures, from the grandest festivals to the smallest acts of kindness. They blessed the growth of young plants, inspired artists and musicians, and enhanced the charm of social gatherings. But perhaps their greatest power lay in their ability to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Under their influence, a simple meal became a feast, a casual gathering turned into a celebration, and even the most mundane tasks took on a sense of dignity and grace. The Charities worked their magic through what the Greeks called charis, a complex concept encompassing charm, grace, and gratitude. They taught humanity that true beauty lies not just in appearance, but in the giving and receiving of kindness. They showed that joy multiplies when shared, and that grace flows most freely through open hearts. One of the most beloved tales of the Charities involves their role in the return of Persephone from the underworld. When the daughter of Demeter emerged from Hades' realm each spring, it was the Charities who adorned her with fresh flowers and flowing robes, helping to restore color and vitality to the world. Their dancing steps matched the rhythm of nature's awakening, their joy mirroring the earth's renewal. Another significant myth tells of their participation in the wedding of Harmony and Cadmus. The three sisters gifted the bride with a peplos of extraordinary beauty and a necklace crafted by Hephaestus himself. This tale emphasizes their connection to both divine craftsmanship and mortal celebration, showing how they bridged the gap between the celestial and earthly realms. Perhaps most telling is their constant presence in the retinue of Aphrodite. When the goddess of love rose from the sea foam, it was the Charities who welcomed her, dried her with soft cloths, and adorned her with jewelry and flowers. They enhanced not just her physical beauty, but her divine power, teaching that true grace magnifies the beauty in others rather than competing with it. Cultural impact and modern significance. The influence of the Charities extends far beyond ancient Greece, reaching into our modern understanding of grace, gratitude, and social harmony. Their threefold nature reminds us that true grace involves both giving and receiving, and that beauty is most profound when it creates connection between people. In art history, their image inspired countless works, from classical sculptures to Renaissance paintings, each interpretation adding to our understanding of grace's many forms. The Charities speak to something timeless in the human spirit, our desire to create and experience beauty, our need for joy and celebration, and our capacity for kindness. In a world that often seems to value efficiency over elegance, their story reminds us to move through life with intention and grace, to find beauty in small moments, and to share our joy with others. What gifts might the Charities offer us today? Perhaps they would remind us that true grace lies not in perfection, but in authenticity, that beauty flows most freely when we release our grip on judgment and embrace the dance of life with open hearts. Their eternal dance continues, invisible, but present, in every act of kindness, every moment of shared joy, and every instance where beauty touches our lives and moves us to gratitude. As the ancient Greek poet Pindar wrote, "May I never live without the Charities. May I always dwell with them." In these words echoes an eternal truth, that life without grace, beauty, and joy is no life at all. The Charities still dance among us, in the laughter of friends, the warmth of kindness, and the endless cycle of giving and receiving that makes life beautiful. Iris emerged from a lineage of ancient deities who preceded even the Olympians. Her father, Themis, was a sea god representing the wonder and mysteries of the deep, while her mother, Electra, was an oceanid nymph of storm clouds. This unique parentage blessed Iris with dominion over the meeting point of sea spray and sunlight. The rainbow itself. Unlike her sisters, the fearsome harpies, Iris channeled her swift nature towards service rather than destruction, becoming one of the most trusted divine messengers. As swift as thought itself, Iris could circle the world 7 times before a mortal could blink. Her golden wings carried her between Mount Olympus and the deepest reaches of the underworld, immune to the barriers that separated different realms. She bore a caduceus, a herald's staff that marked her official role, and a pitcher of water. From the river Styx used to bind gods to their sacred oaths. Those who saw her described a figure of extraordinary grace, her iridescent robes shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow, her wings catching sunlight like polished gold. But Iris was more than just a courier. As goddess of communication and divine messages, she embodied the sacred trust between speaker and listener. She carried not just words, but their true meaning, ensuring that divine proclamations were understood exactly as intended. Her presence at oath-takings made promises binding and unbreakable, for she represented the bridge of trust between parties. Among her most significant tasks was serving as personal messenger to Hera, queen of the gods. This role placed Iris at the center of numerous divine dramas. During the Trojan War, when Zeus forbade the gods from interfering, it was Iris who secretly carried Hera's messages to other deities, helping orchestrate their subtle interventions. She showed both courage and diplomacy, navigating the dangerous waters of divine politics while maintaining her reputation for absolute trustworthiness. One of her most poignant missions came during the tragic tale of Dido and Aeneas. When Dido, the Carthaginian queen, lay dying of heartbreak on her funeral pyre, it was Iris who was sent to release her spirit from her body. With gentle hands, she cut a lock of Dido's hair, allowing her soul to finally find peace in the underworld. This act showed Iris's role not just as messenger, but as a compassionate guide between life and death. Perhaps her most challenging task was carrying messages to the underworld itself. While Hermes often dealt with the souls of the dead, Iris was trusted to carry messages directly to Hades and Persephone. She would descend through layers of darkness, her rainbow light illuminating the gloom, bringing news from the world above to the rulers below. These journeys demonstrated her unique ability to bridge not just physical distances, but the very barriers between light and darkness, life and death. In her marriage to Zephyrus, the gentle west wind, Iris found a partner who complemented her. Nature perfectly. Together they helped bring spring rains and fair weather, their combined powers creating perfect conditions for rainbows to form. Their union produced the god Pothos, who represented sexual longing, a reminder that even divine messengers had lives and loves of their own. Iris represents more than just colorful atmospheric phenomena. She embodies the vital importance of clear communication and trusted messengers. In a world of instant messages and global communication, her myth reminds us that the true value of a messenger lies not in speed, but in reliability and trust. When we see a rainbow today, we might remember Iris's role as bridge builder between different realms, different peoples, different hearts. Perhaps we too can serve as messengers of peace and understanding, creating our own bridges across the divisions that separate us. For as the ancient Greeks understood, sometimes the most important messages aren't carried by words alone, but by the trust and goodwill of those who bear them. In Iris's rainbow path, we see the eternal promise that light can pierce any darkness, that understanding can bridge any divide, if only we trust in the messenger who shows us the way. Nike, goddess of victory picture, a gleaming figure soaring through the ancient Greek skies, her golden wings catching the sun's rays as she descends to crown a victor with her sacred laurel wreath. This is Nike, the divine personification of victory, triumph, and glory. Born of the union between the Titan Palace and the river nymph Styx, Nike emerged in a time when the very fate of the cosmos hung in the balance. Like victory itself, she appeared when she was needed most, during the great Titanomachy, when Zeus and his siblings fought to overthrow the Titans and establish a new order in the universe. In the tumultuous early days of the cosmos, when the future of existence remained uncertain, Nike made a choice that would forever shape her destiny. Along with her mother Styx and her siblings, Kratos, strength, Bia, force, and Zeus, zeal, she sided with Zeus in the war against the Titans. This decision wasn't merely a political calculation, it was a testament to Nike's inherent nature. She recognized that true victory belongs not to the mighty alone, but to those who fight for justice and progress. As reward for their loyalty, Zeus granted Nike and her siblings eternal places by his throne. But unlike her brothers and sisters, who remained largely in the background, Nike's role would become far more active and visible in the affairs of both gods and mortals. She became Zeus's charioteer, his constant companion, and the embodiment of his victories. The Greeks would come to know her as Nike Teros, Nike of the golden wings, for her ability to fly swiftly across battlefields and athletic arenas, determining who would taste the sweetness of victory and who would endure the bitterness of defeat. Nike's powers extended far beyond mere battlefield triumph. She was the divine force behind every form of victory, athletic, artistic, martial, and moral. Her wings, perhaps her most distinctive feature, represented more than just flight. They symbolized the swift and decisive nature of victory itself. In one moment, everything can change. Fortune's wheel can turn, and glory can be seized or lost. She carried with her several sacred objects, each imbued with deep meaning. The golden laurel wreath she bore became the ultimate symbol of victory, transforming ordinary leaves into tokens of divine favor. Her palm branch represented the straight upward growth of victory, fair, true, and undeniable. In her role as divine judge, Nike possessed the ability to determine worthy victors, seeing past mere strength to recognize true merit, determination, and nobility of spirit. But perhaps Nike's most fascinating trait was her dual nature. While she represented the exhilaration of victory, she also understood its cost. She witnessed countless battles, competitions, and contests, seeing both the ecstasy of the victors and the agony of the defeated. This gave her a unique perspective on the nature of triumph itself. That true victory often requires sacrifice, and the greatest victories are those that serve a purpose beyond mere personal glory. Among the most significant tales of Nike is her role in the Gigantomachy, the great war between the Olympians and the giants. As Zeus's charioteer, she drove his divine chariot through the chaos of battle, her wings creating storms that buffeted the giants while her presence inspired the gods to fight with renewed vigor. It was said that her battle cry could be heard above the din of combat, striking fear into the hearts of enemies while filling allies with courage. Another pivotal story involves the first Olympic Games. When Zeus established these sacred contests, it was Nike who he charged with judging the events and crowning the victors. She set the standard for fair competition and honorable victory that would influence Greek athletic and martial culture for centuries. The olive wreaths she awarded became more precious than gold, for they carried her divine blessing and marked their bearers as touched by glory itself. Perhaps most poignant is the tale of Nike and the young warrior Thrasybulus. Before a crucial battle, the warrior prayed not for victory itself, but for the wisdom to be worthy of it. Moved by his humility, Nike appeared to him in a dream, teaching him that the greatest victory is not over others, but over oneself. This lesson would become central to Greek philosophy and athletic ideology, that true victory requires not just strength and skill, but character and wisdom. The influence of Nike extends far beyond ancient Greece, resonating through the centuries. To touch our modern world, her name and image continue to inspire athletes, warriors, and competitors of all kinds. The swoosh of her wings echoes in contemporary sports brands, and her spirit lives on in every Olympic ceremony and every victory celebration. But perhaps Nike's most enduring legacy is her reminder that victory is not merely about dominance or defeat. True victory, she teaches us, is about transcendence, rising above our limitations, our fears, and sometimes even our own desire for triumph. In an age of intense competition and constant struggle, Nike's wisdom offers a different perspective, that the most meaningful victories are those that elevate not just the victor, but all of humanity. As we close this chapter of our journey through Greek mythology, consider this. What victories do you seek in your own life? And more importantly, what would make those victories truly worthy of Nike's golden crown? For as the ancient Greeks understood, it is not always the swiftest or the strongest who earn her favor, but those whose victories serve a greater purpose. Victory rests not in the laurel crown alone, but in the heart that dares to seek it justly. These goddesses were more than just figures of myth. They were symbols of nature, power, wisdom, and even chaos. Their stories continue to inspire and intrigue us, reminding us of the timeless struggle between order and chaos, love and war, fate and free will. Which goddess fascinated you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey through Greek mythology, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more legendary tales. Until next time, keep exploring the myths that shaped our world.